Hi, everyone. Oops. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So today I'm going to be coloring a page from my coloring book, the Markle Debacle, which you can get on Amazon under Daily Empress as the author. And I'm working on a page from that book that I copied here. And I'm going to be showing you a new technique, well, new to me anyways, for color pencil on the skin, doing skin particularly. And I love it because I love using red and greens with painting, with watercolor painting. And so I saw caught onto this style, and I'm going to be using it today. And I've used it with the past few portraits that I've done videos on with just the face, but now I'm going to do it with this picture and the colors that I'll be using. Hopefully, you can read my writing here. It is, let me make sure I have that right here. Okay, if you can read my writing there. So we start out using Negra, which is a brown, a lighter brown. The shadows, this is for the faces and the arms. I'm going to be using the hands. So we start with Negra, and then we go to the green colors, cover it with a shade of green. So Zombie is the light green. I mean, that's just the pictures, the pencils that I picked out of um, Black Widow pencils for the greens and the reds, but obviously choose whatever suits you. But you want a light, medium, and dark tone of the greens and the reds. So for the greens, I chose Zombie for the light, Apple for the medium, and Fang Green for the dark areas. And then for the reds or the pinks, I chose Maiden Pink, Crimson Stone, and Pig's Ear. And then I use Black Widow Black, the darkest places. And for the hair, I'll be using the dark dark chocolate, and chalk tone. And I also took a blue pencil, Blue Daisy, for the darker areas and also shading. And also for the skin, I finish it off with a white Prismacolor pencil to blend it all together smoothly, to smooth it all out. If it's not, whether it's smooth or not, it makes it more smooth. So that's it. That's the new way that I've been using to color portraits and faces and the skin tones. And it doesn't matter what skin tone the person is. You can use this green, red color tone, whether they're light skin, dark skin, medium skin, doesn't matter. It's all about the light, right? It's all about the light and shadow. So now this picture, if you see on the left-hand side, you've got Prince Harry's face is half shaded in. It's very interesting shading here. So the one half of his face on the right side is very dark, and the left side's very light, right? So you don't see Meghan's face at all. You just see Harry's face, and it's very shaded in. So it's like a good, I think, example of using this green-red kind of technique to put the shading in and blending it together, rather than just using gray pencils or black pencil, which might be too, in my opinion, wouldn't look as well as if you take complementary colors like red and green and use them. So yeah, I think we'll just start. So again, I start with the Negra pencil. So with the Negra pencil, you use that for the light and the darker tones that you're going for. And whether it's hair, face, I'm going to start with the darker side of Harry's face here. And I'm using the Negra color pencil, and I'm just using, light to medium pressures, little circles. And the whole side of it's like whole half of his forehead is colored in here, shaded in. I'm just using a light layer of Negra here. Let me darken it up, and it's like half of his mustache there is very darkly shaded. It's the very darkest half of his face. And under the chin as well, it's all shaded down the side to side of the neck here. This is the most darkest shaded parts. And also on his hair, I'm going to go over on the hair as well, because it is darker on the right side, this shaded area. So starting with the Negra. Now, even in the mid-tones, and to the light tones, I just use lighter pressure. He's got some shading over here, so we're using very light pressure with the Negra, and the areas that have a lighter toned, so darker on this half of the face. So we're going over it again, making it darker. This is going to be very dark looking. And I'm going to, yeah, so, and under the eye here, it's very shaded right here by his eye. It's very dark in there as well. It looks like a big black hole there by this eye. Yeah, just looking at his forehead and face and marking that off with a darker pressure, with a little bit heavier pressure, and then lighter pressure as I go to the lighter areas. And then there's a line here next to his nose, we shaded in right here as well. Then you have his beard over here, so I can sort of put a little bit of dots to the beard, sort of little random squigglies there. This darker and lighter tones. Yeah, so just like his nose comes out in the light, the rest of the face is all darkened in there. So I hope you can see that clearly. Maybe I should zoom in a little on his face here, a little bit more. So this is the first layer by zooming in. I'm going to be pushing the zooming on my camera. Hopefully it stays clear. You can see it's just a little, it's a small face on this picture. It's not going to be as detailed as a larger, portrait, but as long as we get the shading, so you can see how I shaded, that's with the Negra pencil. So that's the first layer that I do. And I might also just kind of mark in where where the beard kind of goes in, his hair over here, the darker areas here. I'm just doing all the shaded areas for the darkest areas first with the Negra pencil. First layer. Okay. All right, so I'm done with the Negra pencil for now. So now I'm going to go to the greens, and I'm going to start with the darkest green, which is my Fang green pencil. And now I'm going to go over these darkest areas with the dark green. So I've got dark, medium, and light green. For the darkest areas, we'll get the Fang green, again, kind of light pressure. I'm just making a mental, like looking at the picture to see the darkest areas. I'm not using black on the faces generally, only maybe for the nostrils or maybe the darkest parts of the eyes. I might end up using the black, but I try to avoid if I can. If I can just use the brown and the dark green, and then when we go over later with the pink, the pinks and the reds, those should be dark enough, I think, for the face here. I'm just really basically, since the right side of his face is really dark, it's really in the shade here. It's going to be filling this all in with the dark Fang green that I'm using. And this part of the eye here is also very dark. And as I go out, I just use less pressure, lighter pressure as I move out into the lighter area of the face. Another darkest area here on the eye. And down here. So the inside of the ear is also kind of dark in there as well. There. So that's what I have. The Negra and the dark Fang green. And then I'm going to move to the apple green, which is the mid-tone green. And I'm going to, so I cover the entire face, neck, and hands and arms with all the greens. So the mid-tone areas now I'm covering with a light layer of apple green. Just bring out that dark green. It's the mid green. It's like a gradual transition there. Even though there's a sharp line on the forehead, you can see it sort of it goes lighter before it turns very light. It's like a darker to a lighter spectrum there, gradient on his forehead there, basically. All the colors here for sure. I'm also going to use this on his beard. His beard is like a mid-tone color here. We can make it redder later, of course, with the reddish red pink pencils. Yeah, so this is a very unusual way of starting uh, coloring someone's face for sure. Well, not unusual, but unusual for me. All right, so finally I get the zombie, which is the light green tone that I'm using, and I just cover all the light areas with a very light layer, very light pressure, little circles. I cover the whole thing. You just go over the dark, the light, just go over the whole face here, and I'm trying to keep things moving for the video, so you take your time, make sure to get those light midtones and darker areas exact. I sort of go back and forth, like I'm taking in the apple green and sort of getting the side of his nose here that I didn't get earlier. Really, so I get that in there well. Back to the zombie green. I love the names of these pencils. These widow pencils have great names, right? Instead of pink, it's pig's ear and all that. It's funny listing off the pencils. Or you're not familiar with Black Widow pencils, you may be looking at the pencil names, going, "What?" They're gonna think I'm insulting somebody or something. Yep, using the zombie green. That's what I use for all the faces. Not just because this man may be a zombie. I don't know. There, so now we got a nice zombie green face. And this is not for Halloween. So you may stop there if you want. If you want to just do this for Halloween, say okay. But I'm going to move on now to make him more realistic looking. So the reds that I chose, I have again the maiden pink, the darker, and the pig's ears, the lighter pink, and then I have sort of I chose crimson stone. It's sort of a purpley pink. It's also good, I think, for the shadows in a face because the skin, the shadows can be like purpley as well as bluish. Varies. So I'm going to start with the crimson stone, and I'm going to lightly go over, putting a nice light layer. All this is with light pressure. And I'm using the paper. This is just regular copy paper, so it's nothing special here. And this technique works with cheap paper. This is like the cheap Amazon paper I'm using, the same thing. So this technique works on cheap paper as well as the more expensive, thicker paper. So don't be afraid to try it with it. If you only have the Amazon or copy paper, it works just the same. But you should, be careful to use light layers, very light layers. When you're using the cheaper copy paper, like what I'm doing here. So I'm using the crimson and I'm going over some of the mid-tones here because it's like reddish in the mid-tone areas. And I'm going over all the darkest areas, very light layer, and the mid-tone layers here. And down into the neck. Hi, Patricia. How are you? I didn't know if anybody was out there today or not. Spontaneously decided to come on here and do some art, do some coloring. Color pencils out. I'm using the Black Widow pencils and color in some Harry and Meghan. Meghan's infamous bow. Yes, this picture is where Meghan was mocking the Queen, bowing, pretending to bow for her, and she cracked up laughing. Oh, thank you, thank you. I know, just work at it, just keep working at it and having fun. It's all for fun and relaxation. And it's inevitable. The more you do it, you're gonna get better and better with time. I try. I'm still working on it. I try to do different techniques. This is a newer technique to me, using the greens and the reds. Okay, so I'm putting the crimson stone aside, and now I'm moving to maiden pink. Maiden pink. And I'm putting a light layer of this all over the light areas here, the mid-tones to the lighter areas. Basically the mid-tone areas, because this is a little bit darker. The pig's ear is the darkest, the lightest reddish tone to use. So I'll use those in the lightest areas. I'm gonna have to pick some redder tones for his beard though, because his beard is more of an orangey. And I didn't get an orangey pencil out for his beard, so I'm gonna have to do that next. I'm just focusing on the skin tones for right now. Just over the mid tones here. This, the ear. Missing Odyssey astrology. Oh yeah, I gotta do I'll do another astrology video. What would you like a video on with astrology? What would you like to cover next? Anything in particular? Now I'm using pig's ear and I'm doing the lightest area. I'm going over the whole thing very lightly with the pig's ear now. All the lightest areas of the face. So when you cover it with a pig's ear, covers that green right up and makes the skin look like skin. Makes it look like normal skin tone. You would never know unless you watched this coloring. You would never know looking at it later that this was once a green face. You won't even see it. And a light layer. Oh, with a light layer, you can always go darker later. Making sure to cover all of that green up. You just keep going over it, and if any area looks too green, just go over it with a little more pink. And if it looks too pink, you can go over it with a little more green and just sort of balance it out until you're happy with how it looks. And then we blend it all together with a Prismacolor. Do you have anything in particular you wanted to know about with astrology, or just whatever I come up with next? You want more aspects, or looking at Harry's chart, or in particular, or something like that? I don't want to use Megan's chart because Megan's birth data is questionable. But look at his face now. I mean, look how that looks like a skin tone, right? You would never know that you just went from browns to greens to pinks. I mean, it looks pretty smooth. If it's not smooth, you go over it with a white Prismacolor pencil to smooth it out, and it also lightens it up. But yeah, so far so good with the skin tone right now. It's not quite dark enough on the right-hand side. So this is where I would take out a blue pencil, and I've got the blue daisy pencil here. And I'm just going to go to the blue, can really darken things up a bit much better than the green would. I could go over it with the green as well. I'm just going ahead in with the blue. The blue always just really darkens things very well. I'm putting a light layer of blue on there now. Just a really dark, because it is very dark. Although it doesn't have to be as dark as the original picture, but I wasn't seeing enough of a shade there. I don't think I want to see a little bit more shaded, so going ahead in with the blue now just to get that in there. It really is dark on this side, and right here is very dark as well. Area right here, nose there. Yeah, a little in the ear. Yeah, so now if we go over the blue with the Negra, because blue and brown will always make a grayish tone. We're going back to the Negra now, and I'm going over that blue. Very light layer. And again, this is cheap copy paper, so I'm able to get quite a few layers on here. But it might start getting a little, not so smooth. And that's where the white Prismacolor will come in and smooth it all out if need be, or another pencil, a lighter shade may use. Yeah, it looks, I think maybe that's shaded enough. Get the idea here. When I burnish it, I can burnish it, it'll get much darker. Okay. Now I'm going back to the Crimson Stone, and I'm making a little redder up here. It's sort of a red, very red right in here, and going over the shaded area as well. Yeah. And then I'm going back to the Negra Brown, and I want to do his hair a bit more because I didn't touch his hair yet, but do a little bit of that. Charts of stars. Okay, which stars in particular? Maybe we could do like one at a time. So, which star would you want to start with? Anyone in particular that you would like to look at? We can go through the charts. I do teach astrology classes on Odyssey, on my Daily Empress on Odyssey, if you're interested, for anyone. My coloring channel, though, I don't think a lot of people here are interested in astrology. But it might be, you never know. All right, so I started with the hair a little bit. Yeah, obviously we got a good start here. I'm going back to the blue because I just think I could go a little darker here with the eyes in particular. It is a little bit more. and next to the nose in this area here on the other side. Make it a little bit darker, I think. It's always best to go in light layers so you don't go too dark right off the bat. Even in the shaded areas, there are darker areas and lighter areas that you want to try to pay attention to. Okay. I'm taking out the pig's ear and I'm going over the whole thing again. Another layer, very light layer. His face, it does have a very much a reddish, very pinkish tones to it, particularly under the eye and on the forehead. You gotta get the ginger beard there. We have to get some orangey red going here. I need to pick a color. I didn't choose a color for the beard. Star of my choice. So I don't know. People like different stars. I don't really have any particular star. Well, I'll choose someone if you don't think of anyone. But I think if there's someone you can think of, it would make it more interesting for you. Let me see. That looks a little more centered there. All right, so I gotta choose a color for the beard. So I'm taking out my swatch here, and he's got, it's brownish, but it also has a touch of on the beard, especially is sort of orangish color. I think it looks more of a rattlesnake color, maybe like a light rattlesnake, foxy brown. Yeah, I'm gonna go with rattlesnake, fox, and foxy brown for his beard. So let me pull those out. Okay. All right. So for his hair will be more foxy brown, and the beard will be rattlesnake mainly. So here we go with the hair. Okay. Fill that in. Just doing little circles. I'm not going to get all detailed with the hair. I'm just going to, just in general, try to get. It does have some skin tone at the top. So I'm going to take actually the little bald spot on the back of the head here. I'm going to put some a light layer of zombie green on that. And then I'll cover that with the pig's ear pink. Yeah, it gives a nice skin tone there. Here's the bald spot. And then you gotta do what you're doing there. He tries to deny that he's balding, which him and his followers, which is kind of funny, but can't mess with the picture. It's right there. All right, so now for his ginger beard, we're using rattlesnake color, a reddish brownish kind of color here, and I think that's working. And he can also use it for his eyebrows as well. He's going to have the same color there. The beard and the mustache is going to be this rattlesnake. Yeah, I didn't really, you could smooth the skin out even more with a white Prismacolor burnishing it, or you could just leave it. I mean, I'm thinking that I'm just going to leave the skin like this. I think it might be, I don't need to burnish it. Sometimes the skin comes out kind of splotchy, especially with this, when you're using cheaper paper or copy paper. But it looks like I took my time enough that I don't need to. But I might blend it a little bit. Okay, so for the darker brown areas of his hair, I'm going to use the dark chocolate just for the little bit of darker areas here, a little bit of shadings here. And of course, on the other side, under the shaded area, his hair is much darker over here. Now, if I want to make his hair even darker, I'm going to take the blue out again, the daisy blue, and sort of get the really dark shaded areas of the hair. The blue and the brown really work well with that darkest shaded area, and have the dark brown come out with that from that. Little circles. They have very curly hair, so I want to make that texture. So you can see that texture there. A little bit of blue here for the shaded area. I think he's coming together there a little bit. I'm going to use a little bit. I've got the Maiden Pink out again. I use a little more in the inner eye here. And I'm going to take the apple green, the mid-tone green. To shade this in a little more. It's very dark and it gets lighter. And right here is I'm putting the apple green there and then going over it with the Maiden Pink. That shaded area. Yeah, you just play around with it until you get all the shaded areas and midtones. So you're happy with it. I'm gonna go back under the beard with the apple green, sort of bring it out that shade a little more underneath. And I'm gonna go back to the rattlesnake for the beard. Cover up that green, the rattlesnake over that green color, and it will cover it nicely. The green, the red. As long as it's the green and a red, that's all that matters. I'm gonna take out the blue again for that little underneath his mouth. The chin here is a little darker. There's a line here. There, so with that blue, and I'm covering the blue. I take that Negra brown again. Brown and blue makes a nice dark, but really dark shaded area there. And then under his nose, here I've got the Negra brown again under that. And then brown there, and some rattlesnake again, the beard. Sort of like rattlesnake and Negra brown, basically, for the beard. And the foxy brown. Right, so I think his hair needs to be a little darker. I'm going to shade this again. I'm going to get the blue out, actually. The darkest areas of the shaded areas of the hair over the brown, the dark brown, the dark chocolate. I'm going over the blue. Make it really dark. Really shaded in there. And the dark chocolate, I'm using the dark chocolate again. And just sort of going over these darkest areas. How is that looking so far? It's looking pretty good. I mean, this is a very small part of the picture, but I think it's looking pretty decent. They made his forehead a little too big in this drawing. I need to bring that down. I mean, I could bring that down a little bit. Forehead looks a little big than what the actual picture was. So I could actually, I might bring this in a little bit. I'm gonna bring his hair in a little right here, because I think, and I'm gonna take the foxy brown here Yeah, look at the foxy brown. I'm gonna bring his hairline in the front down a little bit. My bad. The drawing, I probably should have done in the drawing a little better. My apologies. Let's fix that up with some blue and brown and make this all shaded in here. I'm gonna bring it down just a little bit. It is all very shaded underneath the bottom here. Yeah. All in all, that's him. I think it looks like him. We got him. So now I'm gonna use, I think I'll use the what should I use to burnish it? Now I could just use my burnishing pencil here, or I use the white Prisma. All right, I'll use the white Prisma first. Not finding my burnish pencil. I'm just going to smooth it out, the skin out even more. Just burnishing this with the white Prisma color pencil. That really smooths things out. I don't do it over the shaded area, the darkest areas though, because that'll just lighten it up too much. This is for the lighter and the mid-tone areas. And not the beard because I want the beard textured. So just for the skin areas. I'm going to go over it with a little bit there I did. Smoothing it out a little. And to smooth out the shaded area, I think I'm going to take the pig's ear, the light pink. Maybe the light pink. See how that looks if I do that. Yeah, I use the light pink and just sort of pressing hard and burnishing that a little. Not too hard, like a medium pressure, because I might want to go over it again. Getting that down there. See, it's much darker now. I'm just going to go back one more layer with this blue because I think it could be even darker here. Another, especially the eye. The eye stands out a little bit, a little darker than the rest. And underneath the beard here is very dark. You have it. So that's what I have so far. I could also burnish a little bit his hair with the foxy brown and just sort of go over a little harder with that pencil, especially the shaded areas. Really press that down or burnish it. But yeah, so there you have it. So there's his face. So what do you think? Um, so you want to look at fixed stars. Okay. Yes. Okay. Regulus and Spica are a star. What else? Yeah. Thinking of parts. You don't want to do parts. You want to do stars. Okay. We'll do stars next time and we'll look at a chart of a celebrity. But if you can think of a celebrity, let me know. Or else I'll look at Prince Harry. If you don't pick a celebrity, I'm going to do Prince Harry because his chart's really good to look at since we are dealing with him and Meghan so much, right? I think everybody would get something out of that. Uh, sort of a warning. So there you have it. That's his face. That's what I have so far done to get the look of him. Now with Meghan, we're not going to see her face, but we're just going to do the arms and the hair, for the most part. A little more time here. So I think I'm just going to end it right there because I just wanted to show you how I did skin tones with this red and green and brown with the Black Widow pencils. So I'm going to come back to this. I'm going to do a little more. I might do it as a speed time lapse for the rest. But there you have it. That's how I've been doing skin tones for all my portraits recently. And I think it works really well, especially when you have a shaded face like this. It comes in handy. You want to have multiple colors in order to do it and not just using grays all the time or black. So I hope you found this interesting. And yes, Patricia, I will look at the fixed stars next time. I will talk about that. Thank you very much for your suggestion. And until next time, everyone, take care. Bye bye.